Hello, welcome. It's Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable. Every week I discuss the future of this region, blessed with hydrocarbon and human resources. We give time to reflecting on topics relevant to the development of the Niger Delta and her people. Now, this episode was still very much along that trajectory, and I'm here, and we're focusing once again on how to take this region to a more promising future. Now, this podcast is sponsored by the operator of the NNPC, Renaissance Total Energies Ajib joint venture, Renaissance Africa Energy Company Limited, headquartered in Port Harcourt. Many thanks for joining. I'm Adid Dayo in Lushankin. Our topic for this episode is the Renaissance Safety Mindset. In this episode, we're exploring two pillars that define any responsible energy company: safety and environmental stewardship. Now, beyond policies and procedures, these pillars speak to who we are as a company, how we think, how we operate, how we protect people, and how we honor the environment we work in. They reflect our philosophy of responsibility, our commitment to a continuous improvement, and our understanding that the energy industry carries both opportunity and obligation. Today, we're joined by a member of the Renaissance leadership team to discuss how safety and environment are shaping our culture, our decisions, and the future we're building. Again, today on Canvas, our topic is the Renaissance safety mindset. My guest is Mukaila Ojikutu. Mukaila Ojikutu, OJK, is a seasoned oil and gas professional with over 20 years of experience spanning operations, change management, safety, and environmental leadership. He currently serves as Vice President, Safety and Environment at Renaissance Africa Energy Company, where he leads the company's approach to safety culture, environmental risk management, and sustainability. His career includes extensive experience in production operations and a decade in health, safety, and environmental roles, where he played a key role in embedding operational excellence, developing production standards, and advancing environmental and carbon management across shell companies in Nigeria. Mukala holds a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Benin and is a certified sustainability reporting manager, bringing a strong blend of operational insight, change leadership, and sustainability expertise to his role. Mukala Ojikutu, hello to you. Welcome to Canvas and Agile Roundtable.
Yeah, thank you, Daya. Nice to be here. I recall the only time I've been on Canvas was when it was still on the radio, almost about 6 years ago,
Wow.
during the height of COVID shutdown. And it wasn't something done in the studio, it had to be done online.
Live on radio.
Yeah, because then we were at the height of social distancing and lockdown. But nice to be here once again. Thank you.
It's good to have you here. And by the way, for those who are watching or listening, Canvas is still on radio. The format has changed. That back then we didn't have the podcast. Now we do. There's been some advancement, and you also have made from back then to now. You've made some giant leaps and advancement as well in your career.
Giant leaps, well, maybe. Then I actually appeared in the role of environment manager for shell companies in Nigeria. But now, of course, we are Renaissance and proudly so.
Speaking of Renaissance and being proudly so, Renaissance, it's been just about a year. It was last month, about a year ago, that Renaissance, the Shell flag was lowered and the Renaissance flag went up on the industrial area. How does it feel for you personally, 1 year of Renaissance?
Frankly, it couldn't have been better. Like I said, there has been many positives, especially for the organization, because we've seen our production actually grow significantly beyond the expectation. And largely, we are actually maintaining the standards inherited from our prior legacy with Shell. And on a personal note, of course, it's been an opportunity to actually lead the function as a vice president. So there's been many positives, but more importantly is seeing, actually akin to the conversation we'll be having today, the leaps we are trying to take in terms of keeping the workforce safe, essentially. Yeah.
Talking about keeping the workforce safe and safety and environment, as with most other things, I'm quite certain there are technical obligations to it, also with safety and environment. However, for you personally, beyond the technical obligations, what does safety and environment mean for you?
I can sum that up in a word, and the word is care. So that care could play in many parts. It could play in the part of the people, fundamentally, because the people are the foundation on which you're able to achieve all that you set out to do. But you also care for the environment. And that is why, in whatever we do, we have to make sure that people are unarmed in our operation. And as well, we take care to not do things onto the environment that inhibits the future generation from being able to benefit as much as we have. We actually have one of our facilities, which is a pride for me, that has gone through almost more than a quarter of a century of safe operation. That's the Focados terminal. And in that terminal, one of their mantra is, I walk into the terminal vertically, I'd like to go home vertically. What that translates into is the fact that they understand that they have a role to play in ensuring that whilst delivering all of our obligations, they want to go back home safe to their family, because nobody wants to go horizontally, because that means you are either in a body bag or you are being airlifted. So that, for me, buttresses the point about why safety is important. It has to be from the point of care for people like yourself and the people you work with, and as well as ensuring that nothing that you do actually jeopardizes or influences the environment in a negative way.
You use the word care. Now, there could be some skeptic out there because, I mean, by and large, Renaissance is a business. And like most of the businesses, at the heart of any business or most businesses is profit. At the center of it, you want to make profit. That's why businesses are set up. And I learned that from elementary business studies in school years ago. So, and there are those who are of the opinion that if you are profit oriented or you have a profit motive, you can't really care about anything else. The primary concern is profit, and you can't care about people and care about environment and still care about profit on the same level. How is a Renaissance able to balance this?
Uh, Let me come to answering your question in two ways, and I'll give two examples just to demonstrate that. One will border on safety, and the other will actually border on the interest in keeping the environment pristine as we found it. From the safety aspect, I think at the first LT session for the Renaissance leadership this year, we usually have we check ourselves into the meeting. Takes about 90 seconds to just try to put everything aside, be in the meeting. But following that, we often have a reflection. And that reflection can go for like 5 minutes. But the very first one we had this year, it went for an hour. Why an hour? I think it was coming from the point that over the year, we've actually achieved outstanding results from a performance point of view, production, be it oil, gas, everything, even financials. But we had some moments that nobody on the LT was proud of because people got injured in our business. The profoundness of that 1 hour conversation from what should have been a 5 minutes reflection was that the LT came to the conclusion that we needed to actually step up the game when it came to safety. And that has actually seen us birthed the Safe Execution Program, where we are doing things because of the folks on the line just to keep them safe. And it has a slogan. The slogan is, you only live once. Don't listen to the James Bond movie of You Only Live Twice. Understanding that, yes, we all have one life to live and we must run things safe. So there is a hashtag that is trending in the organization, which is about running it safe. Essentially, is to demonstrate to people that, of course, they have all it takes to actually make themselves, in the course of discharging their responsibilities, remain safe, and also their colleagues. The other example I want to draw is we are all aware of the war that is raging on in Iran, for example, and what that has done to the oil price. I think the budget for Nigeria was premised on a benchmark of $60 per barrel, but I think as of my last check, it's $110 per barrel. So why am I bringing this up? We had a plan actually to shut down one of our pipeline that serves as an evacuation route for over 50,000 barrels of oil per day. And we had a plan to shut it down for about 18 days or so, which essentially may translate to an offtake from a tanker point of view if you're exporting your oil. And there was this tension as to should we shut down now or reap the benefit of the oil price? And the CEO said, from the prediction of all the integrity assessments we've done, leaks could happen anytime. And you don't want to take chances with that. I'd rather just take chances on the profit than allow myself to get into a situation where there's a leak somewhere in the Delta. And we took the decision to actually shut down the pipeline. Uh, I hope, hopefully, before the end of the day, that pipeline may be coming back, and we will still then be able to reap from the benefit of the oil price. But essentially, that is just to demonstrate to you what the mindset really is about putting the right focus on the right things. Because sometimes people overlook the immediate gain, and then the consequences can actually be there. I remember a quote attributable to Simon Sinek that great leaders would not sacrifice the people for the numbers, they will also not sacrifice the numbers for the people. That was a clear demonstration of that.
You described, or you explained the scenario and used the word mindset. So, succinctly, what words would you use in describing the mindset the company is creating right now as regards safety and environment?
No, I think it's that which everybody understands that we all have a role to play, and that is essentially telling everybody that when things are planned to be executed, they have a duty to execute it in a safe manner, and they have the authority to actually stop things when things are not going as planned. They are free to speak up when they see challenges, because oftentimes the people who are closest to the work are those who understand the challenges and are able to come up with ways to address things. So we've gotten to a stage where we are getting people speak about the challenges they face, but we are not just sitting also in the offices allowing stuff to happen in the field. We are also getting out there more through our management facility engagement, where leaders go to sites at random times, and also some of those leaders also adopt a facility beyond their primary function, just to be able to increase the connect with the folks in the line. So that's really what has been helping us actually, sell the story that safety is not what we do as part of the business, but safety is the way we do the business.
Speaking of the way we do the business, that takes me to my next question, which you've already touched on or delved into already, but if you could elaborate. Safety is often described as a culture. What does that look like? And culture is a day-to-day thing, So what does that look like for Renaissance as far as the daily activities of the country of the company, pardon me, are concerned?
Yeah, so the question is, what is culture? Culture is a way of life or how things are done. But culture oftentimes is founded on shared beliefs, shared behaviors, or values. I would say the Renaissance culture has been that which has been in transition. It's been in transition because from our prior organization, we have actually moved significantly in that respect. Essentially, there used to be a time where safety is system driven. We have rules. Thou shalt not do this. If you do this, you're not going to be working for us. If there are incidents, we are trying to find out who was responsible for the business. We are moving now to a point where leaders are interested so much in making sure that the folks who are working for them remain safe. And that's why we have things like family units, safety leadership, which is encouraging people to actually have that psychological safety to be able to speak up about things that is going on around them, and also providing the ambience for them to actually display that. But ultimately, for us, because there has to be a destination in your transition, the destination or where we think safety will be most beneficial to the organization is when we get to that state where individuals working in the company feel the need themselves to be safe. So it doesn't matter who is watching, whether somebody is watching them or not, they choose to do the right thing all of the time. So that for me is what I will call the culture. And culture is not something you should describe. It should be something that once you get into that space, it should be seen, it should be felt. And that is what we are working towards.
You seem to be one step ahead of me in this conversation, and I'm enjoying that. So, talking about the people, it's all well and good for leadership to set the pace and set the tone, but there's a pathway as well, and like you said, there's a destination. So, what changes or shifts, if you will, are you observing in the workforce as well, and the people that gives the confidence that we are on the path to that destination?
Okay, let me answer this this way. When we started the psychological safety conversation, safety leadership, we were promoting the fact that people can speak up. But people had a different take of it because they didn't trust what the leadership was saying. So they say, if you speak up, you speak out. What that meant was that if you speak up, somehow the organization finds a way to get you out of the system. So we weren't making the right inroads. But when we started providing proof points of people speaking up about something, then we taking action, and they seeing that nothing has actually happened to the person who spoke, more or less the person is even being recognized for it. It started to shape or, reshape their thinking. And now people can speak more freely about things. If you're looking at data sets, to just buttress that point, there was a time where unsafe act, unsafe condition reporting, which are the bare bone metrics for you understanding what is happening from a safety standpoint, was such that it is maybe like 500 reporting per maybe 2 million man hours, 500 number of reports. And now we've gotten to a situation where we are getting as much as 10,000, 12,000. So you can see the multitude of increase in the number of reporting, because people feel that, okay, once things are reported, they get action essentially. So what I'm saying is that people believe in what we are selling, and they doing their part to making sure that we are actually headed in the right direction, and we continue to stay there.
Let's shift slightly to the environment now. What environmental realities do you believe Renaissance must pay attention to the most?
Environment is very sensitive topic always, because you most likely need a dedicated session for that. But if I just situate it to where it should be, we are running a business in a very sensitive region of the world, not only in Nigeria, because the Niger-Delta region is actually eco-sensitive, and it is important that we understand that the imperatives for us are to ensure that whatever way we do our business, there's no impact on the environment. The imperatives for us, I would say, is essentially we should, as a minimum, try to keep the hydrocarbon in the line, essentially ensuring that we prevent spills by the way we operate. And the example I shared earlier actually speaks to that. Another imperative I see, which is actually very topical, is actually, and is anchored on our vision, which is really about being African leading energy company, helping to industrialize Nigeria, uh, making energy secure, but fundamentally in a sustainable manner. Environment is what allows you to be able to demonstrate that whatever practices are sustainable, because it will be seen that your activities are either having positive or negative impact. So for me, it is making sure that we have an operation that is devoid of spill. Fundamentally, we also reduce our emission. Emission we tag emission in two ways. We have the useful emission and the waste. The waste is emission that comes from flaring. So as much as we gathered all of those, the useful one is the emission that comes from energy you need to drive your product to the market. And for that one, we just need to be a lot more efficient in that respect. Also, of course, there is that aspect with respect to making sure that your activity does not affect the people, because people draw from the services of the environment. So nothing that we do should affect that provisioning. We have discharges. There shouldn't be discharges that affect the people's ability to drink the water or things around them. So that, for me, are the most important realities that we have to deal and contend with here.
What mechanisms have we put in place to ensure that we're able to balance operational goals with environmental protection?
Okay, I think we have a process which is actually regulatory, but also we go beyond that, making sure we tie to the most stringent standard. So we have what you call the impact assessment process, which is essentially a way of identifying what the development you are bringing to an environment, what impact it may have. And it also more or less serves as a tool for us to be able to use to make decisions, because you could do your assessment and say, okay, you know what, rather than site a pipeline here, why not here? Rather than do a pipeline, why not do this else? So that impact assessment allows us to be able to uh, apply what I call the mitigation hierarchy. And in the mitigation hierarchy, the topmost of it is avoidance. So avoid anything that would have negative impact on the environment. If it is not feasible to do that, then you do what you call minimization of the impact. And then you, of course, after minimizing the impact, you are able to monitor and report, transparently about what it is that you are doing. So that is some of the things we are doing in that respect.
Are there practices, environmental especially, that you believe beyond Renaissance, every energy company in the industry must now begin to adopt as standard practice?
Okay, I spoke to some of it earlier. Essentially, there are standards set for how the industry should operate. But standards count for nothing if you are not able to ensure that your oil remains in the pipeline. So essentially, preventing spill, very important. Reducing emission, because we are getting into a situation where even your ability to attract investment depends on how well you can demonstrate, your carbon efficiency or low carbon energy intensity, as it may be. You also have that which I spoke to, which is ensuring that the ecosystem is not affected. An example I could draw on that is the fact that we have been in places, and when we see that people's livelihood may be impacted, we've actually embarked on what I would call voluntary biodiversity action plan. We've been to a place where people are cutting down trees to be able to make firewood and burn stuff, but rather we are teaching them other things they could do, rather than drawing on a strained ecosystem, essentially. So if you look at it, it's really just ensuring that there's international standards out there. There are reporting initiatives that allows you to be able to even situate your business within the context of sustainable operations. So those, for me, what I would encourage any modern oil company to embody.
This canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable, brought to you by Renaissance. The Renaissance Safety Way or Strategy is what we're discussing now. My guest is VP, Safety and Environment for Renaissance, Ojikutu Mukaila. We'll go on a break, but we'll return shortly. The conversation will continue. Please stay with us.
In the heart of our journey, where the sun touches the earth and the wind whispers through the trees, a new chapter unfolds. A chapter where energy illuminates more than just bulbs. It lights up minds. A chapter of unity, a coming together with a common goal to energize futures and illuminating lives. In classrooms, young dreams evolve, inspired by the promise of a brighter tomorrow fueled by available energy. Small businesses flourish, becoming seeds of prosperity. Energy that empowers and is catalyst for growth and change. The future is energy. So, let's light up the path to a sustainable future together. Energy for you, me, and the world at large. Energy for people and planet. We are Renaissance.
Welcome back. Still Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable, brought to you by Renaissance. I'm Dial. OJK, Vice President, Safety and Environment, Renaissance Africa Energy Company. Still my guest. OJK, welcome again.
Thank you.
And still talking safety, environment, Renaissance, safety mindset. We have stakeholders, and often we refer to them as internal and external. We've spoken significantly about the Renaissance people, internal stakeholders. We have and are obligated to our external stakeholders, our communities, our catchment area. They have roles to play as well, I imagine. What roles do communities play, our external stakeholders, in shaping even our approach to safety and environment?
Okay, thanks, Dario, for that question. I think communities play significant roles. Starting from the point of, I talked about environmental impact assessment earlier. One of the things we set out to do in that process is having a clear understanding from the locals of what the unintended consequence of developing in those localities could bring. And what you find is that the insight that they bring, the awareness they have of their locality helps in shaping the kind of concept or opportunities that we take. But importantly, for me, it's important to actually respect the fact that the community was existing before we went there, and the community will continue to exist even after we are done there. And that is why it is really important to ensure that whatever it is that we are doing does not jeopardize that. One way the community plays their important role is to actually influence the kind of legislation that is enacted in the National Assembly, and that then get translated into how we are regulated. Another way is there's a lot of activism, especially if there are some agitation. So they also are able to bring points onto the table through NGOs or other forms of activism. But beyond that is essentially just to show communities respect, because they come to the table with things that you may not know because you are not from that area. And so one of the ambience Renaissance has created is that which allows us to be able to dialogue with the community folks, to understand from their point of view before we begin to situate things within those localities. So for me, I would say they play a significant role in helping to shape some of the things that we do and ultimately how those things deliver in terms of safety and environment. I would say I've seen over the course of my career, starting from Shell and now in Renaissance. I'm trying to think of something also in the mode of, take for example, when you have development or infrastructure within the community, it's important that they understand what is within their community. And so if, for example, you have an emergency situation, the you need to understand how to make the environment safe. What are those areas you can actually seek a refuge from? And it is the insight from the local community that help us in designing what is beneficial to everybody, both ourselves working in the plants that we built, as well as the external impacts that the situation may have.
Now, whilst as a company, we're constantly working on improvements and having conversations around that. We expect, I imagine, that our communities are having their conversations as well, sometimes independent of us, sometimes in collaboration with us. So, what are some of the improvements, shifts, if you will, that you've observed from communities as far as conversations surrounding environment, safety, and all of that?
Yeah, I think one of the construct of the Production Petroleum Industry Act, PIA, is the Host Community Development Trust. And I think that has actually gone a long way to helping to beg some of the issues we've been having in the industry. Prior to them, we are running what you call Memorandum of Understanding, where essentially we do a lot of needs assessment for the folks, with the folks in the community, and are able to identify things that will be beneficial for them in that respect, and then we get on to doing it. About fundamentally, it's just about how we engage. Our prior company, because it's an international organization, there is a certain expectation for how you engage with the community. But now we are Nigerians, we have customs, we have values. So we are more respecting of those customs and values than our previous owners. So that for me is helping to shift the way the communities, we engage with communities and the way communities engage with us, because the conversation is actually now very open. People can call you, put their, tell you about what issues they have grievance with, and then you have conversation around it, and you're able to resolve it more speedily than ever.
We are a proactive organization, and we must keep a step ahead of the situations so we can address them before they even occur at all. From that standpoint, uh, I imagine it also implies we have to identify challenges before they become an issue. So, what are the gaps that you may have observed still, whether from within or from or externally, that we need to close?
Okay, I would like to answer this from the broader topic of this conversation, which is really about safety and environment. Some of the challenges we're grappling with is the fact that the environment where we are actually a very risk normalized set of people. Things happen and people are just going about their normal business. Even people's understanding of risk, is based on the experience they have. So you would typically see that there is a set of behavior people exhibit prior to entering into the gate of Renaissance. And once they get into the gate of Renaissance, they start to behave differently. So essentially, we are not immune from what the society befalls on us. But if I'm homing to a particular point, it's really about, in our operation, we have a workforce, that's core workforce of, let me say, about 10% or less, as compared to everybody that work within the business. So we have quite a lot of people who work within the business that have different orientation of how things are getting done. And some of the work we do gets done by contractors or contractor staff. And what we have seen is that the standards actually vary amongst all of those. And, if you're working in an organization, you then have to have a way of bringing those standards, at least bringing everybody to that standard. And one of the challenges we face is that if you have a standard different from another company, the contractors themselves get confused as to, okay, which standard. So when I'm with Renaissance, I behave this way. When I'm with other companies, I behave that way. So what we did in Renaissance is to actually join up with the International Association of Oil and Gas Producers, the IOGP. And then there are other companies in Nigeria that have also joined, and other international companies. And essentially what that is helping us to do is we are defining standards based on international best practices, such that when a contractor is with us, they are not behaving differently from when they are with other companies. So that way they can continue to build on their competence, they can continue to build on their capacity. So that, for me, even though, yes, it's a challenge we currently face, but it's a journey that by the time we are done, we should be able to say, yes, we are safer for it.
My next question is very, very, extremely broad based. If it covers the entire Nigerian system, you spoke about, I think, paraphrasing, how we as a people tend to normalize risks. And I'll give one typical example. It's been a challenge for many years and continues to be so. You find a situation where a tank has fallen, spilling some product. It could be gasoline, it could be kerosene, it could be whatever it is in any part of the country. And in spite of the myriad of catastrophic accidents that have happened over the years, and repeated appeals to people to run away from such incidents. Rather, we see our scenarios where people would just converge in it and try to get as scoop as the term we normally use, and get as much as they can. And more often than not, we have these accidents, explosions keep happening. And yet, the next time a tanker falls over somewhere again, people would still rush there. What is it with us?
It's not my portion syndrome, actually, because we are a very unique set of people, because what hasn't happened to us feels like, oh, the other guys were just unlucky. We know how to do stuff like that, so it won't happen to us until it happens. It is a big challenge, and from an operational standpoint, for example, one of the things we try to do within our business, specific to the situation you've mentioned, is that we engage tankers that have rollover prevention in, sending fuel or diesel to our locations. So even if they have issues, they would not tip over to release its contents for people to then get into that situation. I think people don't. I won't say they don't understand it, because they do understand. They just believe that miraculously it wouldn't happen to them. We've seen Jesse, we've seen many examples of how horrible it can go, but it wouldn't stop people. So one of the things we as companies, or the standards or upholders in the industry, can do is to make a situation like that difficult to happen, essentially by hardening the rules around how you transport hydrocarbon products, such that when tankers have issues, they don't tip on their side and then release their content for people to be scooping. From our own organization standpoint, I think we are doing well with the rollover prevention that I spoke about. But more broadly, just to answer that broad question, is we need to continue to show what potentially could happen to people, because and the trick will be repeating that message, in such that they understand that this is a reality. It's not my portion thing. Somebody once said that repetition is actually the master of lasting impression. So if you show examples of areas where it has really gone wrong, horribly wrong to people, I think it may serve to prevent them from going. But fundamentally, people are driven to doing some of these things because they are in dire economic situation, and so they'd rather take the risk. So also addressing those socioeconomic factors that pushes them to do some of these things is also important. So that for me is how I would like to answer that.
But I think it also said it's also good to give credit to where credit is due. I think maybe years of continuous repetition, as you just mentioned, very important, has also been leading to some positive change. For example, I think from the numbers that we're getting these days, we're experiencing fewer and fewer cases of even tampering with pipelines and all installations of facilities as well. So repetition is obviously paying off, I think.
Yep.
What does the future look like? The future of safety and environment for Renaissance?
Okay. I go back to the point I made earlier when we started the session. I think ultimately, if you look at your journey on safety and environment, according to the culture ladder, you have a state where things become generative, and that is really the future for us. So what does generative means? I had said earlier, it's really that point where people feel the need to wanting to be safe by themselves, irrespective of who is looking or who is not. That for me will be what actually moves us from where we had to actually a very high performing organization. So what does it take to get there? That is usually the challenge. So we have this suite of initiatives we are running, but essentially also leadership showing that I'm putting the money where their mouth is, that this is not just talk. When we say you have the authority to shut down things that are unsafe, we accept that when the situation happens and learn from that and move on. So for me, the future for us is a situation where we are able to achieve our ambition of 1 billion domestic gas, because we have to industrialize Nigeria, over 2 billion export gas, because we also doing things to support the global business. But more importantly, we have over 500,000 barrels of oil per day from our operation. That will mean nothing if we are not able to achieve them without unwarranted safety incidents. So a situation where we are able to achieve all of those without anybody losing their limbs or losing their life is truly that where I would like to be. And that can only be when safety is woven into the fabric of the organization. It gets to dictate how work is being done in the organization.
Speaking of where we would like to be, and that destination referred to earlier on, maybe somewhat finally for this conversation, what is that one message you'd like to send to the Renaissance people, our contractors and the vendors, as far as ensuring we're on the right path and getting to the destination marked X?
So interestingly, we have coming in the next month the Renaissance Safety Day. We've set out a day actually in the year to actually talk about safety. But safety is a conversation we have every day. But that day is just to put ourselves in a room and just talk in general about some of the things we may do fundamentally better. And this year's theme is aligned to the initiative I talked about, which is really around safe execution. And safe execution is only essentially about the individuals out there, because oftentimes people who get hurt are people who are in the cold face. So all of this is designed because of them and because they matter. That is why it is important that we continue to do things that make them safe at work, because nobody can explain to a family that the dad, mom, aunt, uncle, brother who used to sit on a particular seat at the dining table will never be coming back. So for me, it is, we are doing this because of you and because you matter. Thank you.
And that's a wrap for this conversation on Canvas Niger-Delta Roundtable. The Renaissance Safety Mindset has been the subject matter of our discourse for this episode. Thanks to my guest, Mukaila Ojikutu. OJK is Vice President, Safety and Environment, Renaissance Africa Energy Company Limited. OJK, many thanks for your time.
Thank you, Dara. It's been a pleasure.
Remember, keep safe wherever you are, not just to Renaissance people, but not even just to our communities or host communities as well, but to Nigerians in general. And together, let's make the best of this country. Thanks for watching again. I Adedai Lushakin, and bye for now.